Hey, it's August 9th and we find ourselves in Jeremiah chapters 7 through 9. I saw a YouTube video of what illusionist and self-proclaimed atheist Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller fame thinks about Christians who share the gospel. Surprisingly, he deeply respects them. He said if Christians truly believe that hell is the eternity that someone who doesn't believe in Jesus will experience, how much do we have to hate someone to not share the gospel with them? He's right. When people sin against God, it deeply saddens God too. He knows the consequences of sin and doesn't want that for anyone. It should also grieve God's people, like it did Jeremiah in today's passage. In chapter 7, God calls out Judah's hypocrisy. In verses 5 through 8, God tells Judah that if they would actually live justly according to his law, then he'd forgive them and let them live in the promised land forever. But in verses 9 through 10, God says, "Will you steal, murder, commit adultery, swear falsely, make offerings to Baal, and go after other gods that you have not known, and then come and stand before me in this house, which is called by my name, and say we are delivered, only to go on doing all these abominations?" They can't be God's people and live openly unjust lives. That's the very definition of hypocrisy. As a result, the end of chapter 7 and the beginning of chapter 8 describe the death that will occur because of Judah's hypocrisy. In chapter 8, God continues to describe the foolishness of Judah's sin, how everyone lives according to their own rules, not God's. Even the priests don't follow or teach God's laws, and the punishment Judah has earned would be severe. The end of chapter 8 and the first half of chapter 9 contain a lament from Jeremiah. Jeremiah is not happy about the discipline Judah would experience. He's actually deeply grieved by it. And like God, Jeremiah takes no pleasure in the consequences of Judah's actions. And the final half of chapter 9 describes how God will treat Judah like the idolatrous nations around them and scatter them among them, since they're being just like them anyway. So what can we take away from today's passage? First, we can't live however we want, do some religious actions occasionally, and expect to be forgiven and blessed by God. First Israel and now Judah show that that doesn't work. Living according to God's word isn't just an act of worship, it's the best way to live, for our benefit as well as those around us. Second, knowing the consequences of sin should grieve us. Jeremiah wept because he knew what would happen to his people because of their sin. The reality of hell for all those who die without faith in Jesus should grieve us deeply as well, and should motivate us to share God's plan of salvation with everyone we can. How much do we have to hate someone not to share Christ with them? My prayer for us today is that we would not live hypocritical lives, but do our best in the freedom and strength God gives us to live justly according to his word, and that the sins of the world around us would grieve us as much as they do God. May that grief motivate us to share the gospel of Jesus with everyone we can before they experience the eternal consequences of their sin. If you haven't done so already, please download our Through the Bible reading plan at aspericommunitychurch.org/throughthebible. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.